Hi, everyone. My name is Meir Bulman, and I'm really excited to start contributing to the Prolecto blog. I lead the accounting practice at Prolecto. And our first article is about converting AR credits into customer deposits. So a lot of accounting teams are dealing with large credit balances sitting in AR, and manually clearing and converting them is painful, time-consuming, especially if you've got a high volume of these transactions. That's why the solution matters. And we're going to walk through how we can automate the entire process, taking any AR credit balance, you first net it against AR debits, and then automatically converting those into proper customer deposits in NetSuite. When you're dealing with a lot of credits, again, manual processing simply just doesn't work. And so this is a scalable approach that will solve the issue easily, get your balance sheet reporting right, create those customer deposits, which are actual transactions that can be applied against future AR debits. All right, hope you enjoy the video and looking forward to publishing more articles in the future. Thank you.
All right, I'm here with Meir, and I want to walk him through a solution we've created to convert AR credits into customer deposits. So just for context, Meir, we already have this solution that we built some time back to convert AR credit memos into customer deposits. And so effectively what we're doing now is leverage that to some extent, but extend the functionality because in the particular client scenario we're trying to solve for, we needed to do a bit more. So maybe you can just quickly highlight what the ask is here before we go into
Sure.
the way we solve for it.
Yeah. So the client wanted to convert not just credit memos, but really um, any AR credit balance that the customers have to customer deposits. So they never used customer deposits as a transaction type before, and they realized the value of doing it that way. So they have basically a cutover concern, and they've got something like 20,000 AR credits that they want to convert. Adding to the complexity is they want to also apply open credits against any available open debits first. So a customer that has a credit balance may also have an open debit that first should be applied to get to a net credit balance that should be converted. So that's sort of the overall ask. Then there's a little nuances around the transaction dates and then transaction just linking all together. Can I see everything together? But that's all, I think, part of the solution. So
Right. Okay, thanks for that, man. So the key thing here is we have a high volume. This is not something the user will be able to go in and click one by one. So we needed a way to run this process as a one-off, cut over process. And in the future, I mean, it could be used if the client needs to, but ultimately, the way we've solved for it is that we have a MapReduce script that brings the solution to life. The MapReduce script is driven by two saved searches. Like Meir mentioned a moment ago, we have this first piece where we might want to net out the AR before we do the conversion customer deposit. So there is one search that drives that piece of the logic. It looks at all the results there and it just basically looks for any credits and applies them to any open AR, which would typically be invoices. Once that's complete, it then passes the customer reference into the next step, which says, okay, given this customer, it runs another search, and this search will give all the transactions that are open for which there's an unapplied balance that we need to convert into deposit. So this search would yield possibly journal entry lines, credit memos, and effectively any AR, even if they had custom transactions. It's a question of how you shape the search. But it expects that every line output here will be one transaction for which there's a balance that needs to be converted. And then ultimately all it does is take that data and trigger off the process we already have in place. So it just takes that and it sets the transaction date and stuff like that. And it treats this module as an API that makes a call into it. And this goes ahead and does the work that we are already familiar with. So here, credit memo will really be whatever transaction it was we passed in along. Now it has been generalized to support pretty much any transaction, not just credit memos.
Yep.
So that's effectively the solution. By doing it using searches, I make it's possible that different clients might have different needs and want to filter out different things out. So the analyst is in control of the inputs. I'm going to show in a moment, like there are a few parameters that need to be set on each of the searches for it to work right. The other thing to mention is if there's a customer that has no balance, for whatever reason, let's say we've run the process before and we're running it, this will not fail. It will just say, oh, there's nothing to net out, and it will go ahead to the next step. Alternatively, if we wanted to skip this completely, we could just specify this search and it will go ahead and do only the deposit conversion. So if we have a situation where we don't want a net, but we just want to do deposits, like by specifying one or both of these, we can control how it behaves.
It's great.
Okay, so I'll just switch over to the script now, and I want to focus on the safe search. It's a MapReduce script, like I said earlier on. We have these two parameters, and so let's look at the search first for netting. Because I want it to be a bit flexible, I've created it such that it's driven by fields in the search output. So you can have any criteria you want as your search criteria. It expects it to be a summary search because of the nature of this operation. It's typically going to be a summary search, and it expects two group columns named customer and account or AR account. So that's all it's looking for. Everything else here is useless from the perspective of the script. It looks for the customer and the AR account, and with those two pieces, it goes in and effectively creates a dummy customer payment, sets the customer and that AR account, and it tries to net whatever can be net, like up to the amount of credits there. So that's all this one needs, those two parameters. And then the second, sorry, any questions on that?
Yeah, so I mean, this client doesn't need currency because it's all USD. So we didn't build, but in general, currency is not necessarily grouped. So you're not, where you're saying at a minimum, it's looking for those two groupings, but you could group it more granular if you'd want to.
Right. So we can extend this in the future to add subsidiary and all that stuff. Like effectively, we have to think of what we care about from client's perspective, but also what we need on a payment record to get the transactions we need. So if they have multi-currency or multi-subsidiary, then we need those parameters as well. But for now, it's just tailored to these two because of the specific scenario we're solving for. But yeah, we can extend it easily. The second search is the part that triggers the consolidation. And so really all this one cares about is one column that's named amount to convert. And it doesn't matter whether you describe it as a positive or negative, it's going to take the absolute value for our purposes. But everything else here, again, is informational. It's just looking for a column called amount to convert. And if you don't have it, you get an error in the MapReduce that says exactly, I need a column that doesn't have this.
It's literally the column naming. So it's in both searches. It's the column naming.
It's just the column naming, not where it is. You can add other stuff. It's just it's going through all the columns and looking for one that has that name. And uppercase, lowercase, that doesn't matter. It's just really that it has to have that name in some form or another.
Great.
And so once we have that, effectively, we trigger the process and it will go in and do the netting. I think I'd shown you one of them. Let me see if I have it close by just to show you that the date issue has been fixed. So again, this is leveraging existing technology that we have. We didn't add anything there, but in this case, we had an open invoice. So the first step applied $400. So we had this payment of $1,000 that was open. The first step of netting applied $400 to an open invoice, and then we were left with $600. And in the second step, it went ahead and converted that to credit customer deposit. I'm sorry. And so if you look here under the linked transactions tab, you'd see there that we now have that clearing transaction for $600 and a deposit that came out of it. And now the date is also fixed to the date of the original transaction.
Where are the scripts, and is there a suite lid, or is it just you deploy scripts with those saved search parameters? How does the user go in and kick off the process?
Right. So for now, I mean, we kept it simple because again, we know this is going to be a one-time thing in this customer's case, so it didn't make sense to do anything fancy. So it's just the script, like
that one script deployment.
Yeah, just one script deployment. You just go in and populate the searches and you run. There's one more configuration element that needs to happen, of course. Good, you raised that point. There is this clearing account that needs to be set, right? We have a clearing account that needs to be set. So again, that's part of the existing solution. So I left it there. But one of the steps that needs to happen is that we need to set that clearing account in the app setting. So here I just took one of the GLs they have, but ultimately that needs to be configured for it to work correctly.
We hope you found these insights helpful. If you're ready to get more out of your NetSuite investment and unlock untapped potential in your business, start your journey with Prolecto. Contact us today.